Before we get into the video, it's been highly requested and I've finally started streaming on Twitch, working on the loot from videos and playing my Impling Only Ultimate Ironman. So feel free to come over and say hello. I'm currently working on affiliate. My link will be in the description. Welcome to another loot from video. This time we will be killing the Kraken boss. This is a task only boss, so I'll be grinding out those tasks as well. To start, we have a task of 200 from Kona, which is amazing. I'll be using the bracelets to extend the task as well, so I don't have to farm too many points. The gear I'm going to be using is an imbued Slayer helm, as it is a task only boss, and the imbue gives an extra 15% bonus in all styles. An imbued god cape, an occult necklace, and a Book of Darkness. There are better shield slots in the book, but this is the best I have on my account at the moment. A Ring of Suffering, which is best in slot for its defense bonus, and the Infinity Boots, as I do not yet have my Eternals back. Oddly enough, if you haven't yet done the Mage Training Arena, the wiki lists Silly Jester Boots as an option, which apparently is also better than Mystic Boots. Don't ask me why. My weapon of choice is the Trident of the Swamp, but you can also use the normal trident, or if you're watching this before going for the first time, you can also use an Ivan Staff or even normal fire spells. Finally, I'm using 4 Carols for its magic defense bonus for hopefully less big hits from the boss himself. You can also downgrade to Blessed D'hide or Elite Void bottoms as well. Oh, I almost forgot. The bronze arrows and the magic short bow are for aggroing the tentacles. You don't need good arrows, so bronze will do just fine. You can also use a blowpipe if you want to wear a blessing instead, and utilise the blowpipe spec for healing. In my inventory, you will see that I have a rune pouch with alks and an extra space for the rune drops, Drayman staff to use the fairy ring AKQ to get to the cave, and house tabs to be able to use my fairy ring, and the rest to fill a full inventory of food. You can also bring an imbued heart if you have one. Unfortunately, I do not. That's pretty much all you need. So let's get started. I'm going to be using an instance, as in my opinion it is much more chill, and also with the new death mechanics, the risk is basically non-existent, as your items will be moved outside to a gravestone, or you can go directly to Death Domain and claim them back for a bigger fee. Another benefit of an instance is your food drops stay on the ground for a much longer time, so your trips could be extended. I will be keeping track of how many times I refill my trident, so I can estimate the cost of supplies. Although this is an Ironman, so the cost doesn't matter too much. I'm not sure what my kill count will be to start, so let's do a kill to quickly find out. For those who are new to the boss, I'll show you how easy it is. First, turn your auto retaliate off, otherwise you get dragged around, and sometimes you find that you're killing the tentacle and not the boss, which in my experience is super annoying. Then equip your range weapon and shoot all 4 of the tentacles. Range itself doesn't work on the boss, so remember to re-equip your mage weapon. You can do the first hit with range if you like, but it isn't really necessary. Then you just simply stand and mage the boss, and repeat. The tentacles can only hit 1 or 2 at a time. Their max hit is 2, and the boss can hit up to 28, but not very often. Kraken uses typeless attacks, which means protection prayers will not be effective. If you want to use prayer, then you can activate Mystic Might or Augury. And there we go, first KC for Pirate Boots, lovely. And the starting KC is 3165, so that's where we'll be starting off. Let's carry on. The Kraken is a stronger version of the cave Krakens found outside the boss room. It requires 87 Slayer to kill, which is a fairly high requirement due to its valuable drops and its unique drops, the Kraken Tentacle and Trident of the Seas. Both can be obtained from the non-boss variants, but at a much higher drop rate and in its uncharged form. The Slayer requirement means that this boss can only be killed while on task. You should also note that 50 magic is also required in order to be assigned to cave Krakens. Kraken can only be found in the Kraken Cove, located southwest of the Piscatorius fishing colony. There are a couple of ways to get there, the best being the method I used, the fairy ring AKQ and running east. You can also use a Piscatorius teleport scroll or the Western Province banner 3 or 4 and running southwest. You will know when you have reached the cave, as you will see Leave My Kraken wandering around outside. Previously I didn't know this, but you can turn in your Kraken tentacles to her to keep until you have 10 for an upgraded trident. This increases your trident charges capacity from 2,500 to 20,000. This may be worthwhile on an Ironman if you have spare tentacles, as you shouldn't need more than 1 for a whip unless you somehow die and lose it. Inside of the cave, you will see water fiends wandering around. Simply run north and you will see the boss room. There are theoretically 2 rooms you can kill the Kraken in, the normal room or an instance room. As mentioned earlier, I recommend the instance room, as with the new death mechanics, there is very little risk upon death, with your items being moved outside the area to your gravestone. Previously, this was not the case, and if you died you would lose all your items, except the 3 most valuable and untradables. There is one really nice mechanic about the Kraken instance, which is that drops stay on the ground for 30 minutes rather than the usual 2 minutes. This is especially good for longer trips due to the 5 shark and edible seaweed that Kraken drops frequently. Although each instance will cost you 25,000 coins, the increased length of your trips is well worth this cost. You also don't have to deal with annoying crashes, especially if you are an Ironman. Each Kraken kill will get you 255 Slayer experience and around 22,000 coins in loot. This increases to 24,000 if you are on a Konar Slayer task, as it takes into consideration the loot from Brimstone Keys. Cheldar, Neve, Doradel and Konar are the 4 Slayer Masters you want to head over to if you want to get yourself a Kraken task. However, each Master has their own weighting on the task, which I will put up on screen. Cheldar is the lowest level Slayer Master that can assign Kraken with a weighting of 12. Doradel and Konar have an equal weighting of 9, and Neve has 6. Doradel, however, is considered the best Slayer Master for getting assigned Kraken tasks. So if you are hunting your first task, or grinding out certain drops, he is the best option. That seems a little confusing as Cheldar has the highest weighting, however it is also based on the other weightings on the table. In the clips, you will likely see that I'm using Konar for my tasks for the additional Brimstone Key drops. Tasks are a little more rare, but the added loots from the Brimstone Keys on an Ironman are very nice, which I will explain shortly. But first, let's talk about why the drops from Kraken are so good for an Ironman. Similarly to other monsters, Kraken drops a variety of alchemical items, which are pretty much just good for GP. She also has a drop table with a good variety of runes. The rune drops vary in quantity from 50 to 400. These are the most used runes when slaying and doing burst barrage tasks. You will know that these spells require a fair amount of all of the runes which Kraken drops. Most commonly used spells, Ice and Blood Barrage, require Water, Death, Blood and Soul runes. Mist runes can also be used as water runes. If you don't yet have Barrage, then the lower level spell Burst also uses the Chaos runes. So from just that one drop table, all of the items are useful. Enough about runes. Kraken also drops a variety of skilling supplies, which are useful for an Ironman. I will put up a list on screen. As you can see, she drops supplies for crafting, construction, cooking, herb lore, smithing and farming. There may not be the highest level skilling supplies, but they soon add up over a few Slayer tasks, as you will see at the end of this video. Other useful items you can obtain are coins, antidotes, crystal keys, dragonstone rings and Sanfu serums. Now, the Sanfu serum drops are amazing in my opinion. They are pretty difficult to obtain on an Ironman and are useful for future content such as Dagonoth Kings and the Nightmare. The only other ways to obtain Sanfu serums is through the Herblore skill or via the Wilderness Boss Fetian and the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil. You can also obtain 3-dose potions from the Nightmare, which would be much more difficult. Of course, not everything she drops is useful, otherwise the boss would be pretty overpowered. So we cannot forget the shitty drops such as the Troll Pirate Boots, Rusty Swords, Harpoons and Buckets. You will find yourself getting those fairly often. Now for the best items that you can get from the Kraken boss, the Kraken Tentacle and the Charged Trident of the Seas. The Tentacle is dropped at a rate of 1 in 400 and the Trident at a rate of 1 in 512. Only one tentacle is required on an Ironman to create a tentacle whip, as when broken the tentacle is returned to you. If you are a risk taker and intend to finish this boss after receiving a tentacle, maybe get a spare second one. As mentioned earlier, you can also go for another 10 tentacles to upgrade your trident, which on drop rate would take you 4,000 kills. The full trident drop isn't very useful if you already have a trident from the smaller variants. The only benefit is the free runes you can receive when you uncharge it, which, don't get me wrong, is pretty nice. Finally, Kraken drops elite clues at a rate of 1 in 500, her own jar, the Jar of Dirt, at a rate of 1 in 1000, and her offspring, the Pet Kraken, at a rate of 1 in 3000. Quickly, before we check out the final loots, I should mention the Brimstone Keys you get as an additional drop from Konar Slayer tasks. I will put up on screen the loots you can get from them and why they are so useful for Ironmen. As you can see, you get amazing supplies for so many skills. Some amazing loots include 500 steel bars, which you can use for cannonballs, and we all love cannonballs, but they are often really annoying to obtain. You can also get loots such as 200 gold ore and a wide variety of high level seeds. So in my opinion, doing Konar tasks are really worth it for an Ironman, even if you just do it for the 10th task. I won't be opening them up in this video, as they aren't directly Kraken related, but I will be making a future video about the keys. I think it's about time we check out the loot we got from this 1,500 Kraken kills. I'm actually pretty excited to see the totals myself. Let's check out the loots. I put everything important in my inventory. I did alch the alchables, so I'll put up the loot tracker on the left so you can see the exact drops I got. I tracked the amount of trident charges I used, which came out to be 24,593, which is a lot of runes. However, the charges you do use, you mostly get back in rune drops, and from the full trident drops as well. My account has stupid RNG at Kraken with unique drops. We got 4 full tridents, which is 1 more than expected for the drop rate of 1 in 512. But we got 0 Kraken tentacles, which is something I was hunting for. If I show you Kraken in my collection log, you will see personally how bad my RNG is with tentacles. Yes, you see that correctly, 4 in 4,000 kills. That's 1 in 1,000. The actual drop rate is 1 in 400. So if I still want to grind out for the imbued trident, it will be 10,000 kills at this rate, which I'm definitely not doing. And just to rub salt in the wound, I have 7 jars of dirt, and we got 3 during this grind. I died inside a little more with each time. But enough about how bad my uniques RNG is, let's talk about the amazing loots. Starting off with the runes, we banked a lot of magic XP in terms of bursting and barraging. If you were to use the runes for burst spells, I will put up the cast and XP you could expect. Ice Burst being the most common, you would have 8,475 casts, which using the base XP would get you 339,000 magic experience. I'll put up the casts for the other burst spells as well. Similarly, if you were to use the runes on the higher requirement barrage spells, Ice Barrage again being the most common, you would have 3,480 casts, getting you around 180,000 XP. I'll once again put the casts and XP for the other barrage spells. Just to avoid confusion, the amount of casts is based on only the runes that we got from Kraken, and as each spell requires a different amount of runes, the amount of casts we can do changes. You can of course just use more runes and you'll have more casts. Now onto the seeds. We got 36 toadstools, 13 magic seeds and 864 watermelon seeds. Toadstools are really nice for making your super combat potions or anti-venoms. Toadstools are pretty annoying to get on an Ironman unless you grind out a lot of Zulrah for the 10 noted drop. If you plant them in only protected patches, you can expect at least 130 toadstools, which would also get you 34,000 farming XP. Magic seeds are one of the best tree seeds for farming XP, coming in at 13,768 XP each, with a decent rate for the farming pit as well at 1 in 9,300. The 13 seeds will get you 178,984 XP in farming. I won't go into detail about the watermelon seeds. You may use them, you may not use them. Most people have a stack of them in their bank anyways. The raw food items are honestly amazing if you enjoy PvM and are not a fan of fishing. You go through food fast doing Slayer or bossing, and fishing monkfish and sharks is pretty time consuming, which is why these drops are so amazing. Not only do you save time fishing for your food, but you also get cooking experience for easy total levels. 3,000 monkfish would take 10.5 hours to fish, and 1,150 sharks would take 7 hours to fish, so you save almost 17 hours. Cooking the 3,000 monkfish will get you 450,000 cooking experience and 241,500 cooking experience from the sharks. That's almost 7,000 experience in cooking, which is pretty nice. We also got ourselves over 2,000 oak planks, which wouldn't be that much XP, but with the recent Mahogany Homes update, you get almost 3 times the XP per plank. With normal construction training, you would have banked 126,000 experience. However, with the new Mahogany Homes method, you can get around 378,000 experience with these planks. A bonus is that they are already planks, as personally, I find making planks pretty boring, and it takes quite a long time. The battle staffs, uncharged orbs and diamonds, and seaweed, are also some nice crafting supplies. However, you'll probably just stick to the usual method of giant seaweed. The battle staffs, however, are nice for in the future, when you get some charged ore drops from Cerberus for example. The rest of the loots are miscellaneous depending on what you wish to do with them. You can get some nice Herblore XP from the Snapdragons if you were to make super restores, and a little more Herblore XP if you were to mix soul scales with your antidotes to make anti-venoms. The last drop I want to talk about are the Sanfew serums. We got a massive 102, which will definitely last a while. They are great for doing tasks such as Dagonoth Kings if you still need the rings, or just collect the bones. And if you are at the endgame content, they are useful for the Nightmare boss as well. I did also manage to get 24 Konar keys, which I'll be saving for a future video, as they aren't directly Kraken loot, but getting your tasks from Kona is definitely worth it, which, if you check out my loot from Brimstone Keys video in the future, you will see why. So to sum it all up, we have banked almost 2 million experience across multiple skills from this grind, which just shows how useful doing your Kraken tasks can be, especially on an Ironman, with the bonus of being able to obtain a pet, tentacles to upgrade your trident in the future, and plenty of magic experience along the way. I put a lot of time and effort into these videos working out the experience, etc, so if you enjoy these videos, I'd really appreciate it if you drop this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Feel free to drop any video suggestions down below, and don't forget to check out my Impling Only Ultimate Ironman series. Hope to see you next time!